The city of Goma, a bustling hub in the Democratic Republic of Congo, is once again at the epicenter of a conflict that threatens to destabilize the entire Great Lakes region. The M23, a rebel group with a long and bloody history, has seized control of the city, sending shockwaves through the DRC and beyond. This is not just another chapter in the DRC's long history of violence. It is a stark reminder of the deep-seated tensions that continue to plague the region and of Rwanda's undeniable role in fueling the flames of conflict. The international community watches with bated breath, hoping for a swift resolution while bracing for the possibility of a wider conflagration. The situation in Goma is dire. Gunfire echoes through the streets, sending residents fleeing for their lives. The M23, a predominantly Tutsi rebel group, has a long history of clashing with the Congolese army and is widely believed to be backed by Rwanda, a charge Kigali vehemently denies. The presence of Rwandan troops within Goma's city limits, however, has done little to quell such suspicions. The international community has responded with a mixture of condemnation and calls for restraint. The UN Security Council has demanded that Rwanda withdraw its forces, while the African Union has called for an immediate ceasefire. However, with tensions running high and accusations flying back and forth, the situation remains volatile and the risk of a wider conflict looms large. The fate of Goma, and indeed of the entire region, hangs precariously in the balance. To truly understand the current crisis in Goma, one must delve into the complex and often turbulent history of Rwanda's involvement in the DRC. Rwanda, a small, landlocked nation with a troubled past, has long played an outsized role in the affairs of its much larger neighbor. This involvement, often clandestine and always controversial, has shaped the political landscape of the DRC and contributed to the cycles of violence that have plagued the region for decades. The seeds of Rwanda's intervention in the DRC were sown in the aftermath of the Rwandan genocide of 1994. Following the genocide, hundreds of thousands of Rwandan Hutus, including many who participated in the killings, fled across the border into eastern DRC, then known as Zaire. They sought refuge in sprawling refugee camps where they regrouped and began launching cross-border attacks into Rwanda. The Rwandan government, led by the Rwandan Patriotic Front, viewed these Hutu militias as an existential threat and vowed to neutralize them. In 1996, Rwanda, along with Uganda, backed a rebellion led by Laurent Désiré Kabila, a Congolese warlord who promised to oust the aging dictator Mobutu Sese Seko and restore order to the country. This intervention, which marked the beginning of the First Congo War, would have far-reaching consequences for both countries. It would drag Rwanda into a quagmire of conflict that would last for years and cost countless lives. It would also set the stage for future interventions as Rwanda sought to secure its interests and project its influence in the region. The First Congo War, which raged from 1996 to 1997, was a watershed moment in the history of the Great Lakes region. It toppled Mobutu, a dictator who had ruled Zaire with an iron fist for over 3 decades, and brought to power Laurent Désiré Kabila, a former rebel leader who promised a new era of peace and prosperity. However, the war also unleashed a maelstrom of violence and instability that would continue to plague the DRC for years to come. Rwanda's role in the First Congo War was both decisive and deeply controversial. Rwandan troops, battle-hardened and highly disciplined, spearheaded the advance on Kinshasa, the Congolese capital, and proved instrumental in Kabila's victory. However, Rwanda's involvement was not purely altruistic. Rwanda was determined to dismantle the Hutu militias that had found refuge in eastern Zaire and posed a threat to its security. They were also accused of using the war as an opportunity to loot the DRC's vast mineral wealth, a charge they have always denied. As Kabila consolidated his power, tensions grew between him and his former Rwandan and Ugandan backers. Kabila, suspicious of their intentions and determined to assert his authority, began to distance himself from his former allies. He ordered Rwandan and Ugandan troops to leave the country, a move that would have disastrous consequences. The First Congo War may have ended with Kabila in power, but it left a legacy of resentment, mistrust, and violence that would soon erupt into an even deadlier conflict, the Second Congo War. The stage was set for a regional conflagration, and Rwanda would once again be drawn into the vortex. The Second Congo War, which erupted in 1998, was a brutal and chaotic conflict that drew in 9 African countries and claimed millions of lives. It was a war fueled by a toxic mix of ethnic tensions, regional rivalries, and greed for the DRC's vast mineral resources. At the heart of this maelstrom was Rwanda, once again playing a pivotal, if controversial, role. The conflict was sparked by Kabila's decision to expel Rwandan and Ugandan troops from the DRC. Fearing for their security and their interests, Rwanda and Uganda once again intervened in the DRC, this time backing a new rebellion aimed at ousting Kabila. The conflict quickly escalated into a regional war, with Angola, Zimbabwe and Namibia intervening on the side of the Congolese government, while Burundi and Chad joined Rwanda and Uganda in support of the rebels. The Second Congo War was a humanitarian catastrophe of epic proportions. Millions of people were displaced from their homes, and countless others died from violence, disease and starvation. The conflict also had a devastating impact on the DRC's already fragile infrastructure, further impoverishing the country and hindering its development. Rwanda's role in the Second Congo War remains a subject of intense debate. Rwanda maintained that its intervention was necessary to protect its security and prevent another genocide. However, Rwanda was accused of widespread human rights abuses, including massacres, rape, and the recruitment of child soldiers. The UN accused Rwanda of plundering the DRC's mineral wealth, a charge Rwanda has consistently denied. The Second Congo War would leave an indelible scar on the region, further entrenching divisions and setting the stage for future conflicts. In the midst of the Congo War, the region faced a familiar threat. Rwanda, with its complex history and strategic interests, played a pivotal role. The echoes of past conflicts were unmistakable as old wounds were reopened and new alliances were forged. The stakes were high and the consequences profound. The story of Rwanda's involvement is not just about power and politics, but also about survival and identity. In the midst of turmoil, accusations fly from all sides. Each party denies responsibility, pointing fingers at one another. The cycle of blame seems endless, with truth becoming a casualty of war. Amidst the chaos, voices emerge calling for peace and accountability. Leaders and citizens alike demand justice and reconciliation, hoping to pave the way for a more stable future. It's a plea for healing in a land scarred by conflict. Ordinary people find themselves caught in the crossfire, their lives upended by a war they didn't choose. Families are torn apart and communities are displaced. The human cost of the conflict is immeasurable, with countless stories of loss and resilience. As the dust begins to settle, a fragile peace hangs in the balance. The road to recovery is fraught with challenges, but there is hope. The future of the region depends on the collective will to overcome past grievances and build a lasting peace.